Okay, it's time for Island of Iron Part 2 Confrontation. Anyway, the backstory. Later that night, after you infiltrated the Fortress of Steel, a cold wind whips through your cloak as you paddle hard. In a few more weeks, temperatures will drop even lower as winter arrives. But you don't intend to be sticking around for that long. Even with the currents in your favor, getting to the opposite end of the haunted Isle of Iron has taken longer than you had planned. In fact, you hadn't planned on coming this way at all. Thinking friend Arbez was at the fortress, you had planned to quietly assassinate him, only to discover the military progress of the Mechanist army had been far greater than originally anticipated. Somewhere in the upper stories of the great old sanctuary of the Hammerites, Arbez reigned supreme over the Mechanist Sixth Army, which recently fought its way into the area and stormed the haunted complex. Despite the setback, you threw the Mechanists into chaos by switching off the great network of metal faces and turrets that they were using to help gain progressively more control over the island. With a little luck, most of the fighting strength of the Sixth Army should be out trying to rescue their beleaguered comrades, fighting for their lives in the outposts scattered throughout the island. Over the last hour, as you paddle, you've been hearing the sounds of tremendous battles in the distance. Still, you know getting inside won't be easy, and you still have to find Friend Arbez's location within the complex. In the distance, you see the walls rise from a hilltop near the sea. No way to scale them that you can see. Perhaps there's a way around, or under them. There's no time to waste. In a few hours, the sun will rise, and you'll have to get off the island. Any shadowy place you could hide might contain some resident horror you'd rather not meet. So it's time to get the job done. Tonight. As you approach the rocky shoreline, you spot what appears to be some kind of drainage tunnel, jutting out of the side of a rocky valley by the sea. Perhaps this is the entrance you've been looking for. There's just one problem. Sitting right beside the tunnel is what appears to be one of the forts of a Mechanist outpost. Pulling your boat on a rock and tying it down, you wonder if you can sneak around its lights to enter the tunnel. But then you notice there's no lights coming from the walls. Worth noting that for this mission I'm using an older version of New Dark. For some reason, the current version of New Dark, the confrontation won't play properly. A lot of voice clips are bugged, things like that. Let's go. Island of Iron Part 2 Confrontation. Killing a psycho might make you a hero, but don't forget your day job. Stay true to your criminal ways and rob the place for 1,500 in treasures. Arbez is a mage who was kicked out of the Hand Brotherhood. Mages usually keep magic books around, especially when they're trying out some of their darker experiments. See if you can find one. Although many of the more important hammer icons have either been looted or destroyed, there may still be valuable artifacts in the old sanctuary. See if you can find one. Don't let your desire for riches distract you from the central goal of your dark quest. Find and kill Friend Arbez to stop his hideous experiments with the undead. One way in, one way out. When you're done, get back to your boat.
What the hell happened here?
And they were overrun by the undead. That's why no one was on the walls. Signal post's gone crazy again. I swear that thing hasn't worked right in the last 3 days. I'm sure they think we're neglecting procedure at the castle, but we need more equipment just to keep up with basic maintenance around here. It's been pretty quiet around this area. I wish I could see a little action for once. Just too quiet for my taste. I'd rather be back at my old recon squad burning pagan villages back on the mainland. Now that's entertainment. But the watcher lights in the central valley just went off. Our fort's watchers are still online, but the turrets have limited ammunition. The undead, I can hear them in the distance now. They're coming. Let's go enter that tunnel.
Looks like this guy was trying to get out. I wonder what happened.
Picked up a key that says Attic Labs. I disarmed the mines. Thought this would be a safe exit. No one would see me going through the gate, but alas, so weak. I can't go any further. Must have been poison in that drink. Arbez must have realized I was about to flee. I had to try. I knew Rucus was dead. Strange noises beyond the tunnels. A battle. Getting dark. Friends, if you find my body here, know this. I'm Tilst, second in command of the 6th Army. Friend Arbez is no friend of the Builder. His experiments go beyond research for the Order. I have the key to the labs. Use it. Slay the Guardians if you have to. He's even injecting himself with...
Glad I'm not claustrophobic.
This leads to a well right beside the old castle. But before we go up, I'm gonna go down here to get a chunk of gold. Now there are several ways into the castle, but rope arrowing up onto that beam just above the well is the most efficient. But just for the sake of showing off the mission, I'll go make a circuit of the outskirts of the castle. There's one alternate way in by the Mechanist Diver Marine guy.
What noise there? It's something wrong.
This leads to the western gateway that once led to the factory.
It was nothing then, when the drums in mine ears do overly strong.
The piston connected to the spider.
If someone is there, then show thyself. By Caris!
Got a little impatient there. Not a good thing to be.
Who's there? Who goes there?
For Caris' sake, is there someone there?
This gateway to the now leveled old factory has been permanently sealed on orders from friend Arbez. All authorized transit will be conducted through the front gate.
Come into the light so that I might see thee.
For most of this mission, for the most part in this mission, I'm going to leave the mechs alone as much as possible. Because of developments late in the mission. These are the front gates. There's no reason and at all to try to get in this way. And we've made a full circuit and are nearing the well again. Climb up onto the E-beam above the well, and then rope arrow up onto this beam, lacing the castle. Here's a secret entrance leading into a chimney. Luckily, it's not being used. man in there and a robot with red and silver coloring. It's actually a Hammerite variant. Friend Trajan, you have just been transferred here. Although you have just been transferred here, you have undoubtedly seen the disabled Hammerbot that was hauled here from the battle site where the Hammerite expedition made its last stand. Since it was the only one we found intact, I felt it would be an ideal subject for study, to see how the Hammers tried to adapt our technology to their crude ways. It's one of the Hammer's worst-kept secrets that Valens has obtained several of our machines for study, to the disgruntled howls of his priests. To my shock, with the exception of a few cerebral gears, the parts of this machine are of Hammerite origin. Do you know what this means? The Hammers have acquired the means to manufacture sophisticated technology of their own. Now the alloys of its chassis are relatively weak compared to that of our own combat bots, and the attempt to implement the cerebral gears are so primitive that there had to be an operator standing by the thing to make sure it functioned correctly, but this creation was built over a year ago. What progress have the Hammers made since then? This needs to be brought to the attention of Friend Arbez and the Mechanist Council immediately. For all his talk about understanding and reconciliation between our orders, Valens has duped us all. That rich son of a nobleman has used his wealth and force of will to drag the Order of the Hammer from the depths of oblivion, where it should have perished, and is obviously committed to reviving its secular as well as religious power. With all the losses in men and machines we have suffered here, compared to the gains in new recruits for the Hammers, not to mention the mercenaries he's hired to help them in their fight in their own undead clearing efforts, our order may have a dangerous new foe.
Great, just what the world needs. Hammers with new killer toys.
Finally saw Friend Arbez for the first time since he took his mech troops out on that tomb raid just south of here. I overheard him giving orders to Friend Tilst regarding patrols and security issues. It was strange what happened next, though. Arbez pulled out a bottle of what appeared to be wine in 2 glasses and poured a toast to success in our operations, which he drank with Tilst before dismissing him with an admonition to show the same loyalty he had shown from the beginning. A veiled threat, perhaps. I admire Arbez's iron will and leadership, but I must say in the short time I've been here, I've never seen a more harsh master in terms of discipline and zero tolerance for error. Whatever he spends so much time working on upstairs is fine with me. Tilst and that new General Trajan seem to be running things just fine down here. Tilst seemed rather relieved when Arbez turned to head back upstairs. Haven't seen Tilst since. Guess he went on some inspection. I just hope it wasn't beyond the walls when the Watchers went down. Eston, this place makes me sick. Fortunately, most of the damage that was incurred when this place was overrun by the undead was in the adjacent factory. I'm glad Friend Arbez leveled that place. Thus, we didn't have as much of a mess to clean up in here after the undead were destroyed, except for some smashed doors and furniture. There's still some rooms that haven't been cleaned out yet upstairs. But what gets to me is all of the icons of ignorance which mar this old place. We could at least get some more banners to cover up the hammer junk. What makes it worse is the fact that some of the ex-Hammers want to restore some of the warship areas to their original state. They want to do it as a memorial to those who died here. I say it's disloyal talk myself. From the information found in various notes in the historical records, it was one of their merry little acolytes that got the mess started in the first place. Tear it all out, I say. Out with the rotted wood and let in the glory of steel. Let no sign of the ignorant brutes who once dwelt in this place remain. When this war is over, let us remake it into a temple of metal where a pure worship of the Builder can be conducted by his true disciples. Your friend Incarus, Dijanta. I should feel safe in this place with its high walls and the most powerful army of the Mechanist Order, but I don't. In fact, I'm terrified. Late at night, when I'm patrolling through the vast chambers of this place, I can feel chills, and it's not just from the temperature. Every so often, I swear I can hear strange whispers in the darkness. Cotter tells me it's worse upstairs. There's areas which have been confirmed to have no undead but are left sealed because the priests haven't had time to properly cleanse them yet. I can't imagine what the last horrifying moments were like for those poor hammers when the undead broke into this place. I just can't shake the feeling that none of us are getting out of this alive. They say we're winning and soon the undead will be no more on this island, but that's not the whole truth. Most are gone, but the few that remain are far more terrible than anything we've yet encountered. I wish friend Arbez would come down from upstairs more often. He's an intimidating figure, but his leadership has gotten us far. What is he doing up there? No one seems to know for sure or care to talk about it. Friend Arbez and his assistant Tilst have shown utter disregard for the rules and protocols set by the Mechanist Council. I know I have and will continue to be a smooth-running gear for our order here, but I feel I must take note of the things that have been done. A month ago, our forces finally began to make the offensive operation to take the castle. It began in the early morning. Arbez spearheaded the drive down the valley with his army of prototype mech soldiers. Actually, I shan't call them prototypes anymore. They have proven themselves beyond anyone's wildest hopes. The newer Omega-class troops are unbelievable. Father Karras must be proud. If only he were still here to witness our struggles in glory. But he has arisen to something better, the heat of the Builder's Forge. And may all mechanists join him when the time comes. Supported by fire from the combat bots, the mech soldiers cleared the hilltops, enabling us to establish fortified outposts and the new Watcher sentry stations on the more inaccessible hillsides, so we have a clear line of supply and support from the fortress. As the day progressed, we began to make our final approach to the castle. A mass of zombies began to stream forth from its shattered gates, supported by individual groups coming out of every cave and dark crevice in the area. Seeing this, our commanders ordered the combat bots to form a firing line, and our friends to cease work and fall in behind them for support. Without a word, the mech soldiers advanced onto high ground to cover their flanks. Remarkable agility and skill. Not even our new firebots possessed their forged intelligence. Before they could engage the undead, Arbez called for them to halt and fall back immediately. When one of the commanders remonstrated that our forces could easily handle them, Arbez said, "I know, but we don't have time to play games. I want to be back in the castle and dug in by dusk. Now fall back." Seeing the cold look in his eyes, we've all come to know and fear. By the Builder, that man has power even beyond what I've seen from the old priests. The commander quickly agreed and gave the order. What happened next was a clear violation of our stated rules. As the dead approached, Arbez motioned to one of the mech soldiers who unslung a short metal tube from a large pack it was carrying. Arbez took it and passed it to friend Tilst, saying, "Do the honors, my friend. Just remember the proper distance." Tilst nodded and lifted the device to his shoulder, taking aim at the middle of the group of zombies that were making their approach to unearthly cries. Tilst pressed a button on the side of the device, and there was an explosive thump and a small explosion of sparks and smoke from the tube's rear, blasting out a projectile which burst with great force in the middle of the horde, releasing a cloud of rust gas. In an instant, all of the undead which had consumable flesh on them were annihilated, leaving only some haunts which the mech soldiers disposed of with ease. Despite this great victory, which enabled us to quickly storm and occupy the old Hammer Sanctuary, the act of utilizing rust gas is a clear violation of Rule 471. Did not Father Karras perish due to his experiments with this substance? I know it was the Builder's will to call him home, but I can't help but feel sorrow that he isn't still with us to see the great endeavors we've engaged in. May he give us blessings from the Builder's Forge and its everlasting fire. Icons of ignorance, my ass. Diganta thou art a fool if thou haven't realized the incredible finds that are in the old text just sitting there in the creaking wooden shelves. I've been stealing glances at them when no one's looking, and there are some amazing finds lying in those old tomes. Most of it is written in old Hammerite and hard to read, but the history of the Order is far deeper and more complicated than previously thought. The technological knowledge revealed is startling. Perhaps Father Karras was not a discoverer of new truths, but a true restorer of the old. Praise his name. No wonder the priests are talking about using the books as fuel for fire this coming winter. If the Hammers were ever able to rediscover the valuable knowledge located here, Valens would undoubtedly use it against us. I've been hearing some rumors about that rusty combat bot salvage from the battlefield, where we found the remains of the Hammers expedition, not far from here. I feel at least some of these works should be salvaged and sent to the Mechanist Council for study. We might learn something. Yes, they are that good. Don't knock the old ways, friend. They still have their power. I wonder what Friend Arbez thinks of all of this. He spent a lot of time upstairs over the last few months, and now hardly anyone but Tilth sees him anymore, especially after that incredible raid he led a few days ago. Just him and his mech soldiers. What on earth was he up to? Must be some new strategy. The undead attacks have virtually ceased over the last few days. Can't wait for the 8th and 9th armies to arrive. Then we can finally finish this whole scary experience and begin restoring the whole sanctuary. Just imagine. In a few years this island will be resettled, just like when the old quarter was retaken. But this time, it will be the triumph of our order. Praise Karras, Friend Eston.
Looks like everybody sleeps with the lights on. Well, around here, I can't say I blame them.
These are the notes of Friend Rucus, who, if you'll remember, was the chief medical officer at the Fortress of Steel in the previous mission. Unbelievable how primitive living conditions here are, but I won't be remaining for long. I'm locking this note in my chest, so if anything happens to me, at least someone will know it was no accident. Friend Arbez has this whole area under his complete domination. Anyone who might question what he's doing has either ended up killed in action, had an accident, or simply disappeared. He seemed rather surprised when I showed up, but I flattered him by telling him various lies about how I wanted to see the results of his great victories firsthand. Arbez seems pleased, or was it really amused? He obviously thinks of himself as more intelligent than everyone else, and told me I was welcome to have a look around, but that he wanted me back at the fortress by tomorrow evening. Try to contain your enthusiasm, he said with an arrogant smirk. There is still work to be done, and I don't want some emergency to happen while you are away from the fortress's med center. After all, you are our finest physician on the island. Before having one of his servants escort me to the barracks area for the night, he also added, just one thing, my dear Rucus. I must ask you to please avoid trying to enter the attic room areas on the topmost floor. I have a large assortment of sensitive equipment stored up there, and the servant troops and mech soldiers guarding it have been set to rather sensitive settings to any intrusion from anyone, even other friends outside of Tilst and myself. It's to keep them on their toes and to minimize the risk of a possible intrusion by apparitions. They can do quite a bit of damage if unchecked. Translation: try to enter the top floor and my toys will kill you. Now I know he's up to something. But I haven't come this far for nothing. Since I have to return to the Fortress of Steel tomorrow, I must act quickly. The third floor where the High Chapel is located is accessible, but access to the elevator is locked, with mech soldiers guarding inside. The ramp leading directly to the attic rooms is locked down, and guarded also. Either route would be suicide. However, I believe there's another way. One of the junior officers said he found a secret access way on the high wooden beam while on the tall ladder doing electrical work. He didn't try to enter it because he believed that it led to the restricted area. Before he went to make a formal report to his superiors, I told him I would handle the matter and send him off on a patrol that not due back for several hours. While he's gone, I intend to quietly climb the ladder and see what information I can find. A little witness testimony from me should give Cavador the evidence he needs to get the Mechanist Council to recall Arbez for an inquiry. I've tried to approach Tilst, but he's done nothing but avoid me throughout the evening. I'm sorry, old friend, but if you won't come clean about what's going on, you two will be held responsible. Time to go. An armory here with some goodies. There are quite a few flasks of holy water, but I don't have that many water arrows, so I'll just take one.
Who's there? What noise dost make?
Yeah, we have a new weapon
All's
here,
quiet
flash
now.
arrows. They're like flash bombs or flash mines in arrow form. Just grab all
What
the arrows.
dragonfly flits about? Karis, steel my nerves, for 'twas nothing after all. What noise there that softly calls? All's quiet.
Now this is one of the doors leading to the attic lab elevators. With one of those mech soldiers you saw in Brawl in the Tombs. But just leave it alone for now. When I was a boy living in the seaside village, I'd always heard myriad stories about the haunted isle not far offshore, and the hordes of undead that stalked amongst its ruins, slaying anyone who dared to set foot there. Despite being so near to the mainland, none of the local fishermen dared to come within a mile of the place, despite the favorable currents and rumors of treasure on the island. Last year, when I was just a novice on leave from the academy in the city, I was visiting my parents when my brother came inside and told me about the large group of hammers which had arrived by ship from the city ports. You'd better stay inside, he said, or change into some street clothes before going out. Those hammers have been known to smash members of your sect they catch by themselves. Heeding his advice, I changed into some of my old clothes and went outside to observe their preparations. I approached one of them in the town square as he was purchasing some food for his comrades, and politely inquired what they were doing there. I was afraid they might be planning to attack the chapel our order possessed just outside town. We are here to take back what is ours, he proudly boasted, before being called off by one of the priests in charge. Later that evening they sailed for the island, never to return. A force consisting of less than 100 men. What were they thinking? They never came back. Later I found out they had been sent by the Hammer High Priest himself, apparently to recover the fabled Iron Hammer icon that was located in the main chapel. The sad irony of it all was the fact that this very object mysteriously showed up several weeks later in the hands of a wealthy figure that's known around town as Edward of Blackbrook. It's said that he's involved in smuggling operations to circumvent the Baron's dreaded taxes and tariffs, but it's never been proven. No one knows if it's authentic or not, but the Hammers all agree it is. If that's true, all I can say is that the man that Edward sent to retrieve it must possess the courage of a child of Karis, or enough madness to fill many asylums. Even with such large numbers of warriors and the best technology, the struggle here has taken its toll. But to think of the glory of it all, the reduction of this island, which in the beginning possessed more undead than even the fabled Old Quarter, will go down as a mighty achievement in history, made possible by the Order of the Gear. Praise Karis. Now we're nearing the High Chapel.
Do not react so foolishly again. Keep out of the intruder's path.
Anyway, close by the chapel are these abandoned rooms, and they contain the icon we're looking for. I'm gonna try to hug the wall so I don't set off this servant.
Try and discover him. This one concealing evidence of an intruder. Find him.
while they're busy, we'll get the icon that's required. Here's a ruined nursery. Here are the ruined priest's quarters. Or, I guess that's what they are.
Creepy.
And there's the item we needed. The Holy Rosary of the Order of St. Yora. Oh, Builder, they burst through the side gate. Our men scattered. Now they're coming here. The screams. The children. No, I ran past their room to hide here. I thought the nurses had been evacuated. Had evacuated them. There's nothing I can do. They're at the door. Or now. Builder, help us, please. Go to the other side. Get out of this creepy place. And on that note, we'll continue this next time.